good afternoon or anything like that.
Well, when I say hello to you,
Yeah.
don't say good afternoon. Hello and welcome to The Verbal Edge. I'm communication consultant Elizabeth Nulf MacDonald, and I am so glad you're here. This program is for you who value communication skills in speaking, writing, and presenting yourself or your ideas. Navigating ourselves through this maze of technology, that's what we're going to talk about today, and how relationships play a role. With us is a business consultant who has his own company based here. The company is LOGPIPE, and the person today we're going to talk to is Shirona, and LOGPIPE is a consulting, deployment, and management business, which I said is headquartered in Fort Wayne. Welcome, Shirona.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you for inviting me.
Now, I have known you for a couple of years. I have heard your last name a couple of times, and I just said before we went on, tell me how you pronounce your last name, and you said, no, but I do want you to tell us how you pronounce your last name, and then tell us why you prefer to be called Shirona.
Well, even my mother decided not to have my father's last name because it's so long. I don't usually use my last name because I want to be branded by my first name. Because there's not many Shironas in the United States. There's about like maybe 4 or 5.
That's right. Now, how do you pronounce your last name?
Gunawardhana.
Okay, there. Everybody heard it. And once again, I do not know how to pronounce it. I've only heard it 3 times since I've known you. So we will call you Shirona. Shirona, tell us a little bit, before we go into relationships and the technology involved in it, tell us about your background. When did you come to this country, and what drives you?
I started as a business person when I was like 12 years old. I started making money to buy a stereo because my dad told me it's a silly thing to buy a stereo. And a little bit later, I bought my own computer. So since then, I had a passion for business. And what motivates me when I'm doing business is like I can dictate my own terms. And when I get up in the morning, I try to decide who can I help today, what kind of impact can I make today. So that's how I start my mornings. So that's my passion.
What country did you come from, and in any way did your upbringing in that country till you're 12 years old make you who you are right now?
Not really, because I came from Sri Lanka to Fort Wayne in 1987. My upbringing, Sri Lanka is an entertainment-based country. It's an island. People live for entertainment. But for 17 generations, at least my father's side, they have been in business and they were able to maintain wealth. And my mother was a very, very competitive business person. So my mother and my father influenced me heavily to the point that at one part of my life, I thought I may never want to do business in my life. Look how competitive they are.
All right, so they had a big influence on you.
Yes.
You have a business called LOGPIPE. Could you explain what that is, please?
Well, what LOGPIPE does is like we do 3 things. First thing we do is like we consult with people, because most of the time when smaller businesses have a need for technology, they get it because somebody else has it. They don't know if they can afford it. They don't know if that's something that they want, or they don't even know like what they are going to do with it. So what we try to find out first is this technology something they need? So we don't design websites, we don't fix computers or do networking. So then the second part we do is we try to find out this thing that they bought, what they are going to do, how to deploy it. In other words, like a lot of people misunderstand. They think like when you go and buy a technology, it's all about the product. Like if you buy a software or hardware, computers, but in reality, the ratio should be 80 to 20. 80% should be your training, your deployment, understanding the product, and the manuals and all kinds of stuff. So that's the deployment part. And then you go to the management part, because it's expensive to maintain technology. So in the management part, what we say is like, we can manage your technology in a shared environment, so you don't have to have 4 IT professionals, 5 a big team. Like for example, a lot of companies, they have one person to do their social media. To me, that's very silly unless you are a very large company that has 200 people or more. So you can kind of outsource it for a company like us who can do that to a third-party provider that we use, and then you can bring down your costs rather than spending like $50,000, $60,000 and having this person. You can kind of like share that cost in the management part. That's the management part. So management part does not just involve social media, because that's the key phrase that everybody uses today. But the important part is like, there's a lot of things, like even when your computer goes down, your security. And as a company, LOGPIPE, we don't do these things personally by ourselves, but we work with people locally and worldwide to provide that solution for that customer.
All right. And your clients are indeed worldwide.
Yes, it is. In fact, most of my clients probably outside of Fort Wayne.
You shared something with us. Charlotte Boltemeyer is running camera, and I always ask her to ask questions because her questions are so good. And you were sharing with us beforehand that even that people sometimes connect you with fixing computers, et cetera. And one time you were giving a seminar and you wrote, what did you have on your shirt?
I advertised, "No, I will not fix your computer." And all that I was trying to explain in this thing is like, I do the business side of technology, not the fixing the computers or the website. In fact, my wife has banned me from fixing our computer. She says it's much cheaper and faster if we pay somebody $25, $50 to fix our computer. But at the end of my speech, this one lady walks to me and says like, "I have this virus in my computer. Can you help me remove it?"
Even though you wore a shirt the whole time that said, "No, I will not fix computers."
Yes.
So,
that's how communications work sometimes.
Want to elaborate?
Because sometimes, like, if it's your son, daughter, or like, you might be saying something to them, but they are hearing something else, or they are conveniently forgetting what you are talking to them. For example, you might talk 50 words or 60 words. They will pick up the 12 words that's most important to them, and then rest of it is gone. So you thought that you communicated well. You think that you have repeated it several times, but they have conveniently ignored everything that you said. And I believe this is very important in communication. And this one time somebody told me to ask the person several times, "What do I want you to do? What did you understand from my conversation?"
Yes.
But he said like 9 out of 10 times when he asked the person, "What did I tell you? What did I mean? What do I want you to do?" 9 out of 10 times the person cannot tell what you wanted that person to do.
And you have a quote about speaking loudly and clearly.
Yes, one of my favorite quotes by a friend of mine, his name is George Reimlinger, and George says that you are loud and clear, but I cannot hear you. And then he used to have stickers, and he used to sell this for $4 about this topic, that you are loud and clear, but I cannot hear you.
Meaning?
Meaning, like I was trying to emphasize before, that is like, you might be thinking the other person understand what you are, but it's just spoken word. So what the other person, you are thinking that person is getting everything. So you are loud enough. Even if you scream, it's not going to make a difference. Even if you have a microphone, it's not going to make a difference because you're loud enough, right?
But the clarity, you are loud and clear. Explain the clear part.
The clarity of the whole sentence, right? Because you cannot leave out some and make sense out of something. Like if I'm telling you, "Okay, Elizabeth, I want you to go to Glenbrook Mall, go to the AT&T store, and buy me a cell phone and get me a plan. And then you say, you heard it, but it was clear, my instructions by me. I think it was clear. But in your mind, it registers, I should buy him a cell phone, right? So the details are all gone, right? So now you don't have to go to Glenbrook Mall. You may go to the next cell phone store. They may not have a deal. It might not be AT&T. It might be a prepaid plan or whatever.
So we choose to hear what we want to hear and
Exactly.
tune out the rest. Yes,
Yes.
that is the conundrum of communication, and that's why I'm passionate about it also. Tell me more about communication. Then we're going to go on to what your movement in the Fort Wayne area concerning communication. What does communication mean to you?
Communication to me is everything. Once John Lennon got into heaps of trouble talking about communication, because John Lennon once said, there's nothing more important than communication, and communication is God. And then people misinterpreted this and said, John Lennon says that communication is more important than God, right? So to me, communication is when you're doing marketing, whether you are trying to do a negotiation, everything has to do with how you communicate. Like, for example, there are certain countries around the world. They get along very well. They don't like each other, but they know how to communicate. Does that make any sense?
No.
Okay. Like, for example, there's a theory called the Sadat principle, right? Anwar Sadat, I think he was the president of Egypt at one point, contacted Golda Meir of Israel and said, I want to come and talk with you unconditionally. And then Golda Meir said, like, no, no, no. I don't know what you're thinking, but I don't want any part of you. So he said, like, no, no, I'm not trying to blow up your country or anything like that, but let's talk unconditionally, right? So Anwar Sadat went and told Golda Meir, look, my people, they hate you. Your people, right? Your people absolutely hates my people. I personally don't like you at all. You personally, I'm sure, don't like me at all. But we can communicate and do business since we are clear on that stance. But we can find common ground on the things that we do. So to this date, their treaty is so strong, and they still do like big business between Egypt and Israel. But they don't even like each other. But they communicated that very well in the beginning.
Well, they must have, because those words are strong.
It's very strong words, but you know where you stand. But they found common ground to deal with this, because what's important to them is, like they said, like, well, United States will come be part of this deal because we are doing business together. We are close by to each other. So they found common things, and they were able to communicate very well